This is Brian Swamp, BareBones Entertainment, here with Werewolves. Would you like to introduce yourself and your role in the band?
I'm AJ Diaferio, and I sing in the band. Yeah,
So we've been working with you guys quite a bit over the past, I would say, like year now, and absolutely love your guys' music and what you guys have been putting out. So it's
thank
great
you.
to finally get together with you.
Yeah, it's a good time. I'm happy to be here. I really appreciate all the love that you've shown us. It means a lot to us.
Actually, right around pretty much my favorite time of year. I love Halloween. I love all things horror and everything. So thought you guys would be the perfect band to bring on for a Halloween feature.
That's awesome, man. I see that you got your Nightmare on Elm Street shirt on.
Favorite horror icon?
Yep, I got my crow hat, and I'm wearing Maniac.
Nice.
I don't know if you've ever seen Maniac, but it's a really great, really weird film from the 80s. They did a remake recently, or not recently, like in the last like 10 years with Elijah Wood. That's fucking awesome. The whole thing is shot completely POV.
Oh, nice. So yeah, it's definitely one that I'm gonna check out. I know I've heard of it and haven't actually had a chance to see that one. And I do definitely love your kind of weirder ones and everything. Like
Well,
there's one.
if you like the weirder ones, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Finish your sentence?
Oh, I was just gonna say it's one that I've talked about for like years wanting to see and just never had a chance to check it out and everything. But we recently watched Tusk, and such a weird movie, but really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Justin Long is quite possibly one of my favorite scream queens.
And what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say if you get a chance and you do see Maniac, I would definitely watch the one from the 80s first, just so you can kind of get a feel for the story, especially if you like really obscure and perverted and weird kind of horror movies. It's basically like this guy that makes like mannequins, and so he goes around at night and he stalks women and he scalps them and then puts them on the mannequins and like lives out fantasies. So if you see the first one will kind of introduce you to the character and you can kind of have something to base it off of, because not a lot of people have seen it, but it's just such a bizarre film. And then you can go and watch the Elijah Wood one, because Elijah really like picked apart the film itself, because his production company made it as well. And he picked apart the film and presented it in a completely different facet. And he worked with this French director that had the idea of shooting the entire film first person. So it's just such a cool, like, it almost gives me vibes of, I don't know if you've ever seen Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, but it's got a lot of vibes of that. It's just that like very rough, very raw, but it's also like cinematically kind of beautiful. And the gore in it is just top notch.
Very nice. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that one out. I know, like, it's cool when you kind of find something that's a little bit more like obscure and not a little bit off the beaten path there, and just kind of find that gem. Like I know, being like I was saying, a big Freddy Krueger fan. I love Robert Englund, and some of his kind of like B movie stuff. They can be obviously like really campy, but some of them can be really fun, which is like you can go from zombie strippers to what was that, 2001 Maniacs?
Yep.
I'll say so. That one was just such an interesting movie, and obviously wasn't like a big release or anything, but it was just fun.
Have
and
you
like Robert Englund?
have you seen Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon? Yeah, that's one of my favorite like obscure ones of his. I like that he kind of plays like the Dr. Loomis character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an awesome like a role for him.
I thought it was cool seeing him in the latest season of like Stranger Things and everything, and seeing him like take on a kind of different aspect of a character and stuff. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, Victor Creel. Yeah, he was great.
So with the Halloween season for you personally, if you can kind of finish the sentence here, it's not really Halloween until you've
Until I watch The Crow.
So would that be for your kind of horror
Well,
movies? Is that one that holds a special place for you?
technically, The Crow is not my favorite Halloween movie. Uh, technically, I have like just like most people, I'm sure a lot of people watching this who are fans of The Crow. Uh, it's one of those things like that's my pre-party for Halloween because it takes place on Devil's Night, the night before Halloween. So that's like my annual thing. Like I know Halloween's coming the next day after The Crow credits start running. I'm like, it's Halloween time.
It's cool to have kind of your like traditions and everything, and have something that means
Hmm.
something to you and keeps that kind of season special and everything.
Oh yeah, I'm eating candy corn right now.
So yeah, that's another one of the things that is a little bit more. You have your big candy corn fans and your people that
Hmm.
don't like candy corn. All do you like just your kind of run of the mill candy corn? Or do you get into the different flavors of it? And
Yeah, I definitely peruse the candy corn, corn of plenty. I definitely like to kind of navigate my way through the various different ones. I kind of wish this was the pumpkins because the pumpkins are those are my top, but I couldn't find them. My local grocery store did not have them, and I was kind of really bummed out. But at the same time, I was like, you know, if there's candy corn on the field, play ball. And I got the big size bag, so I'm going to be very very sick by the time I get to this area right about here. Not quite the bottom, but like pretty far down. I've gotten about here so far. I know like the next little step, it's going to be Nausea City.
it's one of those things that once you start, you just find yourself continually picking at and coming back for more.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's one of those things like I only do candy corn once a year, and I usually snack on it throughout the month of October. I have like weird October rituals, like I have to do certain things throughout October because though I can watch horror and though I can dress up and though we could have more interesting shows, at the same time, it's there's just something so special about this time of year. Like it really brings out like kind of a giddiness in people. Like people get really excited about like what they're going to do for Halloween or what they're going to dress up as or where they're going to go or how many parties they're going to have. And it's one of those things like it's one of those special times a year that's like almost as close to Christmas. I feel like to where, like Thanksgiving rolls around and nobody's really that excited because they know they got to spend a whole bunch of money coming up for Christmas and then they got to go see their families. And, 9 times out of 10, most people don't really enjoy spending that much time with their family. And, but Halloween is a different kind of thing. And like the month itself is Halloween. Like once October 1st rolls around, that's when all the channels change and that's when all the streaming services change. And they're like, it's horror movies all month long. So it's one of those things I try to watch at least like two a day, try to get in. I would like to marathon them. I usually do that on a Sunday, but like I like to go back and revisit. Like I just watched Puppet Master last night, and I forgot like how obscure Puppet Master can be, especially the first one. The first one is such an interesting like film. Like I don't know. I love this time of year.
So, pretty much, maybe even middle of September. It kind of changes every year, but I know that I'm always anxious to put on like my Halloween playlist that I made and like get into like really the spirit of the season and everything, and really get into all the spooky music and that I've put together over the years and really enjoy those and everything. So for you, with bands that are kind of synonymous with like horror music and Halloween and kind of that side of things, even like your shock rock and stuff. Aside from your band, do you have a favorite band that puts out music like this, like your like Alice Coopers and Rob Zombies and bands like that?
Uh, Alice, Rob. I mean, like I grew up on Alice from my dad, um, but like I worship Rob. Like Hellbilly Deluxe is really like one of my all-time favorite albums, and Ice Nine Kills, of course, is Spencer's a longtime friend, and kind of showed me that you could introduce that. Well, it's not that you could introduce these two worlds. Like these two worlds have always been synonymous with each other, but to see somebody like really go for it, like whereas Rob Zombie is kind of spooky, he makes horror movies, but like you look at somebody like Spencer, where he's taking like IP and stuff like that, and he's just wovening it into the fabric of his songs. Like someone like that is a genius, and it really kind of opens the doors for a lot of bands like myself. And we have friends from Orlando that we just started hanging out with. They're called Dark Divine, and they're heavily spooky too. Actually, they're really cool, and their image is really awesome, and the stuff that they're doing with that image is really cool. They're like really they're like almost, I hate saying it like that, but they're like almost like spirit Halloween spooky, and I love that about them.
Oh.
They're dope. Like their guitar player is a literal skeleton, and I love that. It's so sick.
Cool.
You should check them out. They're really cool.
Oh yeah, I would definitely have to check them out. They completely sold me on them already. So I know the cool thing with like you guys on like Ice Nine Kills and this kind of, I don't want to say like newer generation, but the kind of more modern take on everything is you guys work so well where like you guys would be amazing for like shows and stuff and like playlists and working together and everything where you're in the same like ballpark, but you each are distinctly your own also, where that's really cool. Where okay, this is Ice Nine Kills, this is Werewolves. Both are amazing and fit the same, like, what you're wanting out of everything and sound great together, but you're still unique in yourselves, too, which is really cool.
I think the difference, it's like everybody in my band is, I know, like, Ice Nine Kills tries to add, like, pop punk and, like, all these different, like, elements and, like, modern metal. They're very modern metal, and I love that about them. With us, it's kind of one of those things like we're all classic like hair metal fans. So even though we are doing like kind of modern metal, we always try to interject like late 90s and early 2000s kind of like new metal and post-hardcore into our music. But like the overall approach and the overall thing about our band is like we're a rock and roll band at the end of the day. So like attitude wise and we also try to like flex a lot of personality in our music. So it's one of those things like it's kind of like I don't know how to explain it. It's just like the sound that you hear, that's just like us. Like that's us as a group of individuals creating music together and trying to like not take ourselves too serious, but at the same time take ourselves very serious as like players. And I think that kind of comes through in the sound because we kind of have like almost a tongue-in-cheek kind of tone to our music, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And to go slightly off topic of the theme of this interview, but you said something that immediately intrigued me with hair metal. I'm such a fan of hair metal. Do you have a personal band from that era that really like stands out to you that is one of your favorites?
Oh yeah, I mean, if if I had to pick one from that era, it's obviously Motley Crue. Motley Crue has always been like, yeah. I mean, it's hard not to. They were the bad boys of that time period, and they heavily influenced so many to come. And I'd have to say like them. I really like Skid. We like Skid Row a lot in this band. Like in band practice, we cover a lot of Motley Crue. We cover a lot of Skid Row. We cover a lot of Van Halen actually, and we cover. We do like sometimes we'll do Warrant, sometimes we'll do like Rat. Like we screw around a lot. And, like most of the time, this isn't a real band, but a lot of times we play Steel Dragon tunes.
Okay.
Because we were huge fans of that movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like I wouldn't call them hair metal. Yeah, I guess they're technically hair metal. I would say like Led Zeppelin, not Led Zeppelin. Wow, Def Leppard. Play a lot of Def
Leppard. I really wanted to go to that tour and ended up not being able to go to the Dallas date and everything. But like obviously, I mean, I've seen Motley Crue a lot of times and everything. So I mean, you go in with a bit of an understanding of where things are now compared to where they were in the past.
I mean,
With
let's
like,
be honest. All of us want to see them in their prime.
yeah. But I mean, them boys and Def Leppard, and I've never seen Joan Jett before. Like all of them,
Mm.
like seemed like that would have been such an awesome show.
Yeah, Joan Jett would be really cool to see. She's on my bucket list for sure. I've been making my way through the bucket list. I actually saw Kiss twice this year, and Kiss
It's an
is
amazing stage show.
Jesus Christ. Like you're not prepared for that. You think like a band just killed their set, and then you go watch Kiss, and you're like, never mind, that band just killed their set.
Yeah, I saw Crew and Kiss together, and that was a great tour.
Well, then you don't need to see them again.
Did you hear about the Big Mars news then?
Mm-hmm.
Completely understandable. It's been dealing with it for so long, and guy deserves his rest.
But they got John 5.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. John 5 rules.
So with everything here, and gonna get you on, I guess, the kind of controversial topic here, the new Halloween movie.
Ah. You know,
What are your thoughts? We just watched it last night. What are your thoughts on it?
so it's real funny because I was just at a private Ice Nine Kills show that was in Ocala, and it was part of like this horror movie convention called Spookala. And so after the show, I'm like hanging out. We're up in this like VIP area, and I see James Jude Courtney, and I'm just like, okay. And so like I'm trying to like I walk up to him. I was just like, hey man, I just want to say like, you know, I showed him my Michael Myers tattoo. I was like, big fan. I think you're the best to wear the suit. Blah blah blah. And then I fucked off because I was like, I don't want to embarrass myself. And next thing you know, like Ricky from Ice Nine's talking to him, and I kind of like overhear their conversation. So like I kind of pop up and I'm joining in on the conversation. And the next thing you know, Ricky's like sees that Jude and I are just like locked into this conversation now that I took over. And so next thing you know, it's like an hour later, and I'm still like dead into this conversation. We're talking about like life, death, drugs, and everything like that. It was one of those surreal experiences. And I remember we ended the conversation. I ended up seeing him the next day at the convention, and we just kept like coming up to each other and talking. And then I was like, hey man, last thing I said to him was like, looking forward to Halloween, man. I'm so stoked you fucking murdered so hard in the last one. Like, I can't wait to see what you do in this one. Little did I know that he would barely be in the motherfucker. What I think about it is I think that they knew they had to end the franchise. And they knew that the ending of the film had to be Laurie versus Michael. We got to wrap a bow on this and send it off. But they had no idea how to go from kills to that. And so they're scrambling because they're like, we need a movie next year. What are we going to do? And so they're going through scripts, and they find a script for this one movie that didn't have an ending. And they were like, this might be a good idea. Let's take this movie that's not going to get made, that has no ending, and attach it to Halloween, which already has an ending, but doesn't have a story. And that became the film known as Halloween Ends, because it didn't make any sense. There was no point in having that together. And Michael Myers and Laurie Strode are just background things for this film. Like, I get what they were going for. Okay, like I get the whole concept of like, what if Laurie Strode type character who's her granddaughter falls in love with a Michael Myers type character, and you know, and it's like, and all this other stuff is happening around the background, and you're like, that doesn't work. So you have Michael Myers living in the sewer like some shitty geriatric Pennywise the Clown, and then you have this kid that was getting beaten up by band geeks throughout the whole film. Now he's going around just murdering everybody. Yeah. Like, why is this kid, why am I caring about this kid? Not only that, to like have him in 3/4 of the film and then he dies, you're like, you just missed out on the possibility of continuing the franchise. That this kid Corey becomes the new Michael Myers. You just threw that out the window. Like it didn't make any sense. And then like the end of the film, you have like where did all those people come from? Were they just waiting? Did she send out a mass text? Like what happened? I'll send it to you after this interview. But do you watch those pitch meetings videos that's on YouTube?
Some, yeah.
Okay, so he did one on Halloween 3, and it's great. It's so good. And it literally like he goes through the whole like concept of the film and he just tears it apart. I love it.
I'll definitely check that out. So do you think, because obviously like horror and like comic books, all that stuff, like it's almost as if nothing's ever truly finished. So do you think this will be the end for the Halloween franchise, or do you think they'll try and bring it back?
Absolutely not. It's not done. If anything, they'll probably go in on that missing gap, make another film out of that 4-year gap where it has nothing to do with Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. Or they might just reboot the entire franchise from the ground up and do like a totally different like take on Michael Myers. Or, you know, there's so many different avenues, but to say that this is it, that they're never going to make another one, that's preposterous. They've been rebooting it.
It's hard to go with.
Yeah, it's been continued more times than at this point, more times than James Bond. But I'm excited to see what they end up doing with it. I think they had such a good foundation to make something. I think they listened way too much to like the first one isn't perfect, but for it to be a direct sequel, it's awesome. You know, to like say like none of these other existed. And that was the other thing that drove me nuts is like Laurie Strode has been training to fight Michael Myers for like 40 years. And then like he murders her daughter and she just becomes like Martha Stewart. And you're like, what? I'm like he murdered half the town and your daughter. And now you're going to try to have like a normal life knowing he's still on the loose. That makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit the character.
Yeah, but no, not at all. Not if she's supposed to be like a hometown Sarah Connor. Doesn't play off well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with modern horror, there has been like there's been some really good ones that have come out recently and everything. Do you have a personal favorite that you've seen kind of your newer generation of horror movies?
I really enjoyed Barbarian. I just watched that like 2 nights ago. That was like, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
I've heard really good things. I haven't seen it yet though.
I would definitely watch it. It's on HBO Max. Zach Kreger, who was one of the guys from The Whitest Kids You Know, that comedy team, he's the one who directed it. And after realizing that, you're like, oh yeah, no, this is totally his version of a horror film. Like it's you're not gonna expect it. It's super weird, but it's slightly kind of predictable. But you're like along for the journey because you're like, where is this gonna go? And it's interesting. The creature in it's really interesting too. It's got a lot of funny moments, but it's also got a lot of like moments. Pearl. X. I thought X was good. Pearl's next on my list. Ty West did a really great job on that film. I really liked how like subversive and weird it was, but how it like kind of played on a lot of like classic tropes, but it still like was its own unique thing. A lot of A24 movies are give or take. It's either too artsy or it's, you know, it's lacking the story to keep me in there, and it's just focusing too much on like the visual aspect of it. But that one, great. What about you?
It's probably a kind of generic answer, but I mean, I've really enjoyed a lot of what Blumhouse has put out. Have a lot of fun with those. Have loved all of Jordan Peele's movies that he's put out.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's doing great things in horror. A little bit older now, but I really enjoyed like the first Sinister. And I thought Cabin in the Woods was a lot of fun. That also like followed a lot of tropes. Loved Cabin in the Woods. Had so much fun with it.
Well, you're talking about new school horror. I mean, Cabin in the Woods is like 10 years old now at this point.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah.
Actually, thank you for reminding me because I'm going to rewatch it sometime in the next couple days.
So
But yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I
I
thought you
was
were
just
still
saying,
going. Sorry.
to take you back a little bit, from like growing up and everything, did you have like a favorite Halloween costume that you did? Did you kind of do like any horror characters growing up, or was there anything just kind of that really
Uh,
stands out to you?
it's actually kind of funny that this isn't my favorite Halloween costume, but this is something that stands out to me because my mom told me about this situation, and I was like, "Wow, that's so weird. It's very unbecoming of me." I remember the she dressed me up as Dracula, and I was scared of myself,
Okay.
and I didn't like wearing the makeup, which is so bizarre because I love wearing. I basically dress as a vampire on stage like every night. This is funny how those little things kind of stick with you. As far as like favorite costume as a kid, I don't really have. I can't really pinpoint one that was like a favorite. I was a weird kid who always played dress up. Like so, every day was kind of like Halloween. But I dressed up as like a lot of superheroes or like characters from movies that I saw. And my parents kind of just fed my active imagination and let me just dress her up as characters. That's kind of why I still do that to this day.
That's really cool. And I know, from seeing like your guys' videos and stuff, I mean, you go all in on different like kind of characters and the makeup and effects and everything, which is really cool. So it just kind of has continued on to be able to see how you continue to grow with it. It's really awesome.
It's funny you say that because I literally just uploaded a new one today. Like right as we were waiting to get on here, I had to upload the brand new video, and it's sitting right there. And let's just say I'm wearing an interesting costume and some interesting makeup in it. And I'm very excited about this one.
Well, I definitely know we'll be checking out. Is that going to be? Because I'm gonna have this interview up this weekend. So is this going to be available here soon, or when will that video be available for people to see?
I will say soon. I will not say when because we haven't announced it yet, but we're about to announce it. So very
Keep
soon.
your eyes out.
Definitely keep your eyes out. If I can always say like, if Tori watches this, she'll probably yell at me for saying it. But you could just assume if I uploaded a music video that it's probably going to be 6 weeks out.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Well, we know obviously people will be excited for it, and the videos that you guys have been putting out have been so great. And I know you've been releasing some different covers lately that have been really cool. Do you guys kind of come together and decide what you're going to put out, or do you have just kind of a list of covers that you would like to do?
We're actually going to probably end up putting out like a lot more covers. We were talking about like I'm going to start doing more like micro covers, like those quick covers to like kind of beef up our social media accounts. When it comes to it, like we know we're going to do like 2 to 3 a year. So if we know we're going to do 2 or 3 a year, I kind of like run ideas by the guys, but like 9 times out of 10, I'm like, come on, this fits. I'm weird. Like I'll sit there and I'll listen to a whole bunch of different songs and stuff like that. And I have to find something that says like, that's us or it doesn't work. Like we can't just do any, I mean, we could just do any song, but it wouldn't be as special if we didn't at least think it would work,
Yeah.
you know? So no, I mean, like we've gone through like most of the late 90s and early 2000s catalog of like new metal songs that we'd want to make metalcore. So it's time for us to start kind of looking at different options. I know we have one more. I know we have one that we're going to do already slated. We're going to get in the studio probably in December to track it. And then after that, we're out of things in the tank. So I think we're going to start kind of looking at different genres to kind of see what we can do with those. I know that we've had had some interest in doing like some early 2000s pop songs. Try to find the right ones. It's gotta lyrically hit the way I like it, and it's gotta musically hit the way they like it for it to work. But like, something like, I don't know, like a Backstreet Boys or an NSYNC cover, but one of the dirtier ones would be cool. Or we've talked about doing like, we tried doing pop punk. Pop punk doesn't translate well. We did Still Waiting by Sum 41, and I thought that was like, I love it, but it didn't do as great as I hoped it would. So it just really
41 kind of has
depends.
that crossover.
Uh-huh. Well, that's the thing. It's like we're not known for that. So like, yeah, we could do it, but I don't think our fan base that we built wants that. I could be wrong. Could have just been a marketing issue.
So it could be a ways off from Werewolves does the golden oldies.
I mean, don't be surprised if we start doing hair metal covers.
I will be all there for it and blast it all over the site.
Well, I'll say this. You should hear us do Kickstart My Heart at band practice. We kill that. Yeah.
That's definitely a good one.
And Running with the Devil from Van Halen. We kill that one, too.
I can imagine. That one sounds like it would be amazing.
Yeah, we this band, man, we love our hair metal. I think that's where we're going to set our horizons next.
That would be a lot of fun. And I think it helps that like all of you guys are enjoying it and having fun doing it. I think that comes through in the music is that you guys are having fun and doing things that you want to be doing. So I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like we have our moments where we butt heads and stuff like that, but most of the time it's like little nitpicky, over perfectionist kind of like nonsense. But most of the time we're just laughing and having a good time, and like there isn't anything that can't get solved with like a quick conversation.
So to not take too much of your time here to
Absolutely not.
to close things up, do you have any advice or anything that you highly recommend for viewers out there to get their Halloween going?
All it takes is a good costume idea, some good movies, some good candy, some good company. And that's really all you need to get your Halloween started. If you got those 4 in the tank, you're ready to go. Doesn't hurt to have a kick-ass Halloween soundtrack. So try to give your spooky bands like us, Dark Divine, Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, and whoever, give them a nice platform or a place to enjoy that music, get some cool lights going, and just make the most of it, because you're not going to have it for another 365 days.
So to put you on the spot to finish this out here and really make you think, can you give your top 3 recommended movies to watch for Halloween this year?
Yes, I can. Maniac. Doesn't matter which one. Enjoy Maniac. I enjoy Maniac. I want you to enjoy Maniac, and I want everybody who's watching to enjoy Maniac. It's grotesque, and it's 80s. It's classic. American Werewolf in London, because that is my all-time favorite, and I like to think that some of our name came from a film like that, because with a satirical kind of name like We're Wolves, a horror comedy is definitely on the table there. And if I can make another suggestion, because I want everybody out there to have a good time, pop in Idle Hands. Idle Hands is a great movie to kind of like get you in a good mood, give you a couple scares, but not be too much.
Those sound like some good ones. Well, we appreciate you spending some time with us this Halloween, and we can't wait to work with you guys again.
I appreciate you having us, and I look forward to the next one of these. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, man.
Happy Halloween.